What is going on, everybody? Obesity Prime here, and today's video is gonna be a damn good video. Last season I put out my Shaco Support guide, which has received a lot of love and a lot of views, but that was back in season 10. In season 11 we had some major changes to the items. Shaco's got a couple buffs, so we're going to talk about that in this brand new season 11, the ultimate Shaco Support guide. Stay tuned, it's going to be a lengthy one. I'm going to give you tons of information, tips, tricks, everything Shaco. Let's do it.
For my next trick, I'll make you disappear. Now you see me, now you don't.
Alrighty, let's hop into this bad boy. It's gonna be a long one, so if you got a drink, pop it open. Let's get this taken care of. So this is an ultimate guide, so I'm kind of gearing this more towards newbies or people who are new or people just want to get better. If you're a pro, I'm not sure why you're watching this, but thanks for watching. But for all you newbies and people interested, we're gonna start from the beginning. I'm gonna give you the clip notes on some of these. Obviously you can read the skill on the screen. I'm gonna go ahead and make it short and simple, get directly to the point, tell you some kind of like hacks, tips, tricks for each skill, and the ways that those skills can be countered, so you're made aware of those as well. Let's start with the passive. To break this down, you do more damage when you attack from behind, whether it be auto attacks, your deceive, or your E, your 2 shift poison. They all do more damage from behind. So to sum that up, clap them from the back. That's all you gotta do, okay? Alrighty, moving on to the Q, also known as Deceive. This is your engage and disengage. And as you can see up at the top, the cooldown is 12 seconds level 1. That is a long ass time for this to be on cooldown. So if you're going to make a play, make sure you can do something in that play. Otherwise you may die unless you have some good backup and or previous box placement that can help thwart a threat against you. This is also your escape as well, so use it wisely. Here's the first tip and trick, is that your Q can actually in of itself negate some abilities. For example, hooks. So there have been plenty of times where let's say for example Blitz would shoot his arm at me. If you time the Q at the right time, kind of like with Ezreal's E, you can get out of the pool. Same thing I've seen happen with Nautilus hook, Thresh hook. You can Nunu's ball. If you time it right, you can Q away, stop the ball, and still remain invisible that Q distance. And I've also done it with Darius R. He is about to R me, I Q away, it doesn't go off. So there are little nuances with this skill that can kind of get you out of other players' skills. I don't know them all. Those are the most that I have found that I just mentioned to you. Q scales off of AD, so this is mostly for AD champions. That's why usually if we're looking at this from a AP perspective, Q is maxed last. Not always, but majority of the time it's what you want to put points into last. So there are some things you can do while you're invisible. You could press your R and the enemy won't know which one is you. You can place your box, but there is a shimmer as it says in the description here. And I'm pretty sure as well you can use summoners such as Flash, Ignite, Teleport. I know for sure Teleport because I've seen Pink Ward do it a lot. So I'm pretty sure you can do it with the majority of the summoner spells. Now here are the counters to Deceive. Obviously, Pink and Red Trinket are your biggest counters. Actually, more of Red Trinket. I'm not sure if Pink can still detect your outline, but I know for sure Red Trinket does. So be mindful of that. If someone's popping a Red Trinket and you're going to queue in, they're going to see you coming and they're more than likely going to beat your ass for it. So that is the counter to that. Also, I've noticed that there are a couple of fucking items and Ezreal E that target you even though you're stealth. So I would be stealth, Ezreal E will follow me even though I'm stealth, Gale Force will execute me even though I'm stealth, and you just gotta be mindful of other champions that have true sight on their abilities, such as Karma, Kai'Sa, Rengar ult, Karthus ult, Kog'Maw ult, literally traps. When Rek'Sai is underground, she can see your movement, so you just gotta be aware of those. Twisted Fate ult can see you. So those are some hard counters to this Deceive, which is your escape. So if they can see you escaping, they're gonna catch you. You only have 2.5 seconds, less than 3 seconds to run away. Also, if you're affected by a dot, such as a burn, it doesn't need to be Ignite. Obviously Ignite's gonna reveal you as well, but let's say like a Cassiopeia poison, singed poison, you will shimmer because you're taking damage over time, so they'll be able to follow you as well. That is how your Q is used and or countered. Moving on to the next ability, the ability that is most known in the Shaco kit, and that is Jack in the Box. These are some lovely little guys. These have a lot of utility in the game. So let's run through this real quick. I'm not going to read it all for you. I'm just going to give you those clip notes, baby. Scales off AP, which is great because we're going AP in the first place. Yes, the box timer got nerfed from 60 to 40, but it can scale up back to 60, even higher, with the more AP you have. So we're stacking it, so that's a bonus. The more points you put into this, the longer the fear, which makes it easier to double fear, because it does take 2 seconds for your box to arm. Keep that in mind. Your box can be one-shotted, smited in that time frame, and it takes 2 seconds for someone to trigger it. So you gotta think ahead when you're placing these down. Like, okay, if someone's running, I can't just place the box right on top of them. I need to be in front of them. That way it can arm. That way when they're walking over it or just past it, they get feared. Also, the fear extends a little beyond the ring that you see. So keep in mind that you can use minions to fear the enemy as well. You don't have to be right on top of them. You can place the box next to minions, and the minions will trigger the fearing them if they are close enough. Also, the direction at which they contact the box ring is the direction that they're going to flee. So if you want to sandwich them, as in having one box in front of them, they walk into it, get feared the opposite direction, which then they get feared by another box, you got to place it in the right spot. Placing them side by side isn't necessarily going to fear them into one another unless they walk in that particular direction. Alright, so let's talk about these W counters real quick. There's quite a handful of them. Let's start off with the most obvious, which is your their red trinket and pink wards. Those reveal your boxes. They can use Summoner Smite, they can use Umbral Glaive. Let's see, minions are a big one, and any other type of like pet. So Zyra plants pop your box. Annie's Tibbers, what's that dude's name? Yorick's little minions. You know, anything that can walk into your box is gonna trigger it. But also remember that your box can block skill shots as well. It can block hooks, it can block skill shots, Qs, it can block binds. Well, maybe not Lux unless something is hit before it hits the box, but it can block binds. Skill shots that don't pierce through, like Ezreal Q, it'll block that. Moving on to the bread and butter of the kit, and that is 2-shift poison. This is your spammable ability that does tons of damage. This is your execute. In most cases, 95% of games in the support role, you're going to be maxing this first just because it provides so much. So let's go through it. Obviously, if it's active and you auto someone, they're going to be slow. So putting more points into this increases the slow up to 30%. Throwing this at someone who's below 30% health gets bonus damage. That's why it is known as the execute, and the damage goes up the more points you go into it. So you can throw your dagger at someone that's under 30% and not kill them. The more points you put into this guarantees more damage, which guarantees that you will kill those motherfuckers. And like I said, with the passive, this does get more damage if you hit them from behind. That's our goal. Try to smack them from the back if you can, to maximize the damage, because Shaco's AP damage is really weak unless you can get someone into a box or clone setup. The way that this can get countered, obviously they will stack MR. It gets hard countered by tons of heals and shields because you won't be able to pierce through and really damage them. So sustainable supports on the enemy side really kind of hurts this. And if they turn around right when you throw this, you lose that backstab kind of bonus damage. So those are the main counters to this. Stacking MR, looking at you, heals and shields. And lastly, our love and hate skill. This is hallucinate. This is your R. Obviously you're going to take this every time it pops up on your skill tree. But for those of you that don't know, your R can dodge abilities. Let's go through some of those abilities. I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but obviously skill shot abilities. I got some examples for you. But some of the main ones: Karthus R, Ziggs ult, go through Lux R, any shootable skills, any shootable skills or anything that would come at you, projectile of some sort. Even Rengar R, I block that too. You can block a lot of skills with this. You just have to time it right, and that's where the skill level really comes into play. Predicting the enemy, knowing the timings, this all comes through playing the champion and understanding that. Now the clone pops out from the opposite direction, so if you're gonna R towards an enemy, your clone will be the furthest away. Vice versa, if you are away from an enemy, you'll be further away, your clone will be closer. Now this skill has tons of viability to it and things that you can do. You can do things like what I call fishing, is where you'll stand out of sight somewhere, you'll press R, and you'll send your clone into the jungle, just trying to bait out enemies that may be hiding in there. This works a lot with Evelynns, because you know they love to burst people down, hide in the jungles and flanks. So I've used this skill a lot on Evelynns. I'll just press R, send him in there, she'll pop out, burst him down, it'll explode in her face. I run over there, I Q over there, E-ignite, usually get a kill. You can bait out summoner spells, it has a lot of utility here. You can also play the mind games. If you're playing a good person, majority of the time they can tell which one's the real Shaco by the one that's running away, right? If you're in a bad situation, you're usually going to try and R away from the enemies and run towards your tower. Or what you could do is the reverse. You can R into them, and then with your, I don't know how you control your clone, whether it be through the R or the alt right click, whatever way you control them, you just send them running towards the tower. And if the player is smart, they may think that's the real Shaco. They'll blow their abilities on it, giving you more time for your Q to come up or to run away or set up or pick up a kill. So there's a lot that you can do with this, and that will really define your skill level as a Shaco player. Lastly is called rubber banding. It's where you can send your clone off running in the other direction. You Q towards the enemies, you run over there, your clone rubber bands back to you. The enemies freak out like, ah, Shaco's on me, and then they'll attack it most of the time, and it'll explode in the face, and you can pick up a kill that way. So this is what I call a clone bomb or clone drive-by, is when, so your clone is up for a certain amount of time. You can wait there for a few seconds and then send him off, and by the time he rubber bands back to you, he'll explode right on top of the enemy, and you could pick up an easy kill. Because sometimes he'll rubber band and the enemy won't auto him, and then, you know, it's kind of obvious that it's a clone if you're just running at the enemy who's full health, you're not using any abilities or anything, like that's the clone, and they'll bypass it and chase you down, beat your ass. When it comes to the counters, like I said, if they know the real you, they'll just run past the clone and kill you. Another problem is that the clone sometimes does not want to do what you want to do. You send it one way, but it doesn't do it, or it doesn't auto attack, or it just sits there and dies. So those are all of Shaco's skills. Hope you've learned something from those, and hopefully some of those examples can illuminate the possibilities of using his skills. Let's move on to skill order. Alright guys, don't bite my fucking head off. This is a rough guide on what you could do for your skill order. Alright, let me just explain it. This is primarily for newbies. If you're more comfortable with Shaco, you can do whatever the fuck you want. But if you are new, you're not sure, please go this order. It's very simple. Level 1, you're going to start your boxes. Level 2, you're going to start Q, so you can run away when they try to go all in on you. And then from there, you're more than likely, like I said, 95% of the time, going to max E first, for the reasons that I explained a couple minutes ago. So that's 1, 2, 3, and obviously whenever R comes up, you take it, bam, 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 as you see there. And then you proceed onward as the chart shows, finishing off E by level 8. And then your boxes to get a longer fitter, do more AP damage, and then following up with Q last. Now there are some cases, I'm just going to touch on this briefly, there are some cases where you can put up to the blue line, you follow up to the blue line, and then you can switch and throw 2 points into box early, and then finish E. There are rarely times you want to deviate from this, and like I said, the points at which you deviate are beyond the blue line, and that usually switches between putting points into your box and your E. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So I know you guys were not expecting this one, but I feel it is necessary to go over this real quick, and that is his scaling, if you want to call it that. You got to know your champion, know what he does, and by going through this particular quick slides, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I added up, I did some of the calculations between specific levels so you can see how Shaco scales upwards. So this is level 1, these are your base stats. The stats that you mainly want to pay attention to are health regen, armor, magic resist, move speed. Well, I'm pretty sure your move speed stays the same always, but that's really slow. He's really fucking slow, guys. Next up, mana regen, attack. Those are the main ones you want. Don't worry about these other ones. As you can see, level 1 and then level 3, when you have all of your abilities, you can see what your new base stats are. Your magic resist increases by 1, armor by 5, attack by 4. You get a little bit of mana, 50 here, and 100 health. Not too crazy. Let's move on to level 6 when you get your ultimate. Some of the things that I want to point out to you are your magic resist versus your armor. As we proceed to level 11, you're not going to get a lot of magic resist, so it's usually kind of important to address. If they have 3 or more really like strong AP champs, you may want to throw your adaptive ruin into magic resist, because more than likely you will go hourglass, or hourglass has a better fit into your kit, unless you're going to go Banshee's Veil, which since the rework is a really good item. So I just wanted to give you a rundown of Shaco stats as you progress through the game. Gotta know this. And as you can see from level 1 to level 18, where the weaknesses are. So those are the main points that we're going to try to address when it comes to ruins and items. And here we are again at the ruin page. It seems like we go through this shit all the time, but guys, there's really nothing that changes here, honestly. So I'm gonna speed through this as quick as possible. I don't feel like I should explain everything in full detail because it's pretty straightforward. Just read the tooltip. Click this thing right here and read the tooltip and use your brain, and you'll figure out why we would go this. But the standard main one that you want to go is your sorcery main keystone, which is common for the increased damage. Mana flow bend, so you get more mana. Like I said, mana is one of his major problems, so we need as much as we can get. Transcendence, which will give us ability haste, so we can spam abilities more, which is awesome and makes him more fun to play. And then you can go Scorch or your choice of Gathering Storm. If you are in a lower elo, I would probably say Gathering Storm, because I'm pretty sure your games tend to go 30 to 40 minutes, and who wouldn't like 48 to 80 AP? But Scorch is still a good choice. Next up is Precision for your secondary. Presence of Mind, which helps keep your mana flow going through this ability. I really like this ability as well. It's a great update from what it was before. And of course, Coup de Grace. If the enemy team is squishy, you can go this. Otherwise, I say cut down if they're gonna go with people who have a lot of health. 2 or more tanks, a tank and 2 bruisers, tank and 1 bruiser. You may want that because, as you'll see with the items, we don't get that much health, so it's still a good item to have to kind of shred through them, which is what we want to do. And of course, 1 offense for ability haste, 1 for adaptive force, and then your choice of armor or magic resist. And as we saw, he does tend to fall on the weak side of magic resist, so I may go that majority of the time now, unless they have a double AD bot or just 4 AD champions. Then it makes more sense to go armor. Okay, that is the main #1 build I recommend to you. Obviously, we can do other things such as go into the domination tree. First, let me talk about AD. If you're gonna go AD, support Shaco, which is on rare occasions. Check out other people's AD guides, particularly jungle, but I'm just gonna give you the quick cliff notes. More than likely, this is probably what you're gonna want to go, is Hail of Blades, just because it works so well with autos. Sudden Impact, your choice here. I really don't think that matters, but if we had to choose, I'd say Eyeball Collection. And then your choice here of Ravenous, so you can get some healing on your autos. Relentless to run faster through the jungle and stuff like that, or Ultimate. Probably Ultimate I'd say is better, but Ravenous and Ultimate Hunter. And then whatever you want here, doesn't really matter that much. And then you could do something like this for your adaptives. Don't worry so much about modding AD Shaco support. It's rare that you would go that unless your team is stacked full AP. You're not going to go this, but if you do Hail of Blades and just doing something like this is all you need. Your secondary is not going to matter that much. Go what you think you need. This will provide you with mana and some more damage, or you can go your source tree for the same thing here. That is AD in a nutshell. For going back to AP and what you can do, you can go Electrocute. I would say is a third option. Your second option would more than likely be, let's see, would be Dark Harvest. Dark Harvest into Sudden Impact, so your QEs do more damage. Your support, so I always like going Ghost Support route because you're placing wards anyways. This will passively increase your ability up to 30, I think is the cap. And then either Ravenous again or Ultimate. This is what you want. You can also switch this out to be that as well. There you go. Those are his main builds. Now if you want to be experimental like some people I know, you can go Tank Shaco build, which will be Aftershock. If you want to heal your teammates, you can go Font of Life. Otherwise you can just go Demolition so you can smash towers some more. Oops, what am I doing? What am I doing? There we go. Smash towers more, but I think this is a safe one just to provide some more healing. Bone Plating, and then I would say Unflinching so you can get out of sticky situations. And again, for the secondary, Presence of Mind, Coup de Grace, or Mana Flow Ban, Transcendence, and then whatever you want here. So those are the ruins. I'm not spending much time here. It's the same shit over and over. Nothing is really changing. Stop stressing about these fucking ruins, alright? The reason why you're not climbing is not because of the ruins. So let's move on to the item build. Alright, here we are inside the items. We're gonna run through these items. I have mine nicely partitioned off, so it makes it very, very simple. I also have AP Shaco, and if I'm gonna have to go AD, I got my AD there, but here we go. Let's focus on what we want to focus on. So we have our starting items. These are all the possible starting items you can go. I would recommend jungle, top, support. Okay. So obviously we're gonna start with Spell Thief. You can go Relic Shield, but I just tend to go Spell Thief because I need the mana regen. Your 2 pots, and then your choice if you want Stealth Ward or Oracle Lens. On your first back, I recommend getting Oracle Lens if you went Stealth Ward just for the first placement to give you guys some safety until you get to level 2 or 3. It's always possible, or you can just straight up run Oracle Lens right out the box. Doesn't matter, in my opinion. Moving on to your mythic AP choices, and I think there's only 3 that actually are worth your time. I'll rank them in order from 3rd to 1st, but just know 1st and 2nd are very close, like 99 and 100%. Like those are the difference, not very close. So the 3rd item that you could use for Shaco is Everfrost. Now we're referencing the problems that we need to address, which are mana, ability, and the ability to cast our spells, right? So we get 20 ability haste, 600 mana, you get 200 health, which isn't bad, right? More health, you can stay alive longer, and 80 ability power. Very solid item, very, very, very solid. My problem with this thing is it's active. Now the active is good. I like that it slows and it has the potential to root. It just seems fucking buggy for some reason, or like it doesn't seem like it works the way it's supposed to. I'm not sure if that's making sense or if you've experienced what I'm talking about. Like the motherfucker is in the middle, but since there's like a half a second or 1 second delay from when it shoots out, they move out of it, so you gotta kind of predict it. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but it does provide some more CC, gives you the ability to stack CC. Who could be, let's say you have a mid Morgana and she binds someone with her Q, you could walk up, place a box, push this, they'll be rooted even longer and then get feared into your box. Or you can activate this when they run into your box, rooting them. So there's a lot of good things that this item provides. By no means trash, it's just, I don't know what I would classify it as, what's the problem, but I know it has to do with the active. And the mythic passive, I'm a little on the fence on. I mean, 15 ability per item you complete is not bad, but compared to the other 2, it lacks a little behind, and that's why I think it's on 3rd. Moving on to the next one, which is Luden's Tempest. Here we go. So again, as you'll see with all 3 of these, they have the same amount of ability power, mana, and ability haste, right? 620. Here's where it's different. Instead of 200 health, you get 6 magic pen, okay? 6 magic penetration. On top of that, you get 5 magic penetration per item you complete, So you're cutting through MR, which is another thing we gotta do, right? We can have a lot of ability power, but if they are stacking a lot of MR and we're not able to cut through that magic resist, our damage is gonna be weaker than it could be. So it's good that this gives you that magic pen up front. Next up is Echo, and this is why I think it's better than Night Harvester. Obviously you get the mana and stuff like that and some penetration, but Night Harvester procs once every 40 seconds per person, while this procs every 10 seconds and spreads out to other people. So if you have a Morello's, Anti-Heal, and let's say Demonic Embrace, and you throw an E at the front line, and the rest of the team is around, they're all going to get the dot, they're all going to get the anti-healing. So it has potential to affect the whole team and people around them. Plus it's every 10 seconds. You still get a move speed boost, even though it's a little bit weaker, but I mean, come on now, it's a give and take here, so you're still getting a move speed for spamming this every 10 seconds. And lastly, that I still think is first for reasons that I will explain, is yes, Liandry's Anguish. Again, 600 mana, 80 ability power, 20 ability haste. You might as well just put this up at the top, and that is at the bottom, max reduction 50%. But let's run through it. Torment, it gives a burn, right? This is what they call the anti-tank. It's supposed to burn for their max health every 4 seconds, or like 4 seconds, right? Yeah, per second for 4 seconds. While they burn, they lose 5% magic resist per second up to 15. So at max burn, they lose 50% magic resist. So you're still cutting through that MR, right? The same way you would with Ludens. You're still cutting through, you're getting 15%. This is 15%, that one is 6 magic pen. And then the mythic passive is ability haste. 5 ability haste per weapon click, so you're able to spam your abilities more, which is awesome. Now here's what sets it apart as well, like I already alluded to it earlier with Ludens, is if you have anti-healing and you throw a dagger at someone, not only are you going to get the anti-healing for, 3 seconds, it's going to extend every time they take damage from you. So this potentially can go on for what, 7-10 seconds, depending how many times they get hit. And this can also apply to the entire team. So let's say you throw your clone into a group of people, it explodes, boom, now the entire team takes damage. They're all getting burned, and they all have anti-heal for anywhere between 5 to 10 seconds, maybe even longer. That is pretty strong. Yes, it's not upfront damage the way Ludens is. This is more of a burst type item. This is more a damage over time item, but this can still do a lot of damage and benefit you in a lot of ways. Yes, it hurts tanks, but it also hurts squishies too. Alright, now the next item I want to talk about is the item that can bring all of these together and just dominate the game. And this is possibly rushing either second, but no later than third. In most cases, I would recommend if you really want to get out there and do some damage, and that is your Void Staff. And before I talk about this, I should go back and talk about boots real quick and why these two are better than Everfrost. So Everfrost, you don't have any magic pen because most of the time you're gonna go Ionian boots for the CDR, right? You're mostly gonna go this. You could go plated and of course Mercury. I'm not sure why you would go any other boot aside from these three. I think they're the strongest. You can get your 18 magic penetration through these two items. Yeah, you get 15%. That's not a lot, but over time it builds up, especially if they stack MR. You'll eventually take more than that, or about the same. 3 items put you at 16, which is only 2 less, so it's about the same as well. So you get more utility out of these than I think Sork boots, so you probably don't want to ever go these, in my opinion. You could go them. I don't think it's bad, but I think you get more out of plated Mercury and Ionian boots. So let's hop back to Void. So Void can really bring out this, right? Because you have no penetration. Well, now you have 40%. That, once you have those 2 items, now you're going to be doing damage again. Now if you want to do that big daddy sauce damage, you're going to go, I haven't done this, but you could go Luden's Tempest, Void Staff with Sork boots. Ooh, good lord. That's the most damage you're ever gonna do. I mean, through MR. There's no other way to get through more MR than those, in my opinion. I think, I mean, unless that stacks with it. Either way, always picking up Void Staff is a good buy. Either, in my opinion, second or third. If you can delay boots, if you're stacking kills, buy this bad boy. It doesn't hurt you. 65 ability power and 40% pen. You're gonna be doing more damage. More damage makes Shaco deadly. So that's my opinion. You could go those 3, but I would still say primarily Ionian. And yeah, that's the best item I think to pick up. And then of course you have your defensive items right here. Zonia's always been good, and now Banshee's Veil is actually really good too. It's actually better, right? Yeah, they changed it. They both of these used to have the same stats, 65, but this would say 45 magic resist, I think, or 40, something like that, and 10 ability haste. But now the Banshee's Veil has 15 more AP. But yeah, these two are both good. Those can definitely go into your kit as well. And if they have a lot of healing, I just like to rush in Oblivion Orb right away and just sit on that. Morello's doesn't need to be completed right away or rushed. As long as you got this, you're solid. Get your Void or one of these completed ahead of time as well. Other good items you can go. Banshee's Lichbane comes off. It's not really that good anymore, and I probably wouldn't take Gnash's Tooth either. It's not that effective. Here are the items that you could go. Cosmic Drive is really good. If you can get it, you can double stack dots, making you fat damage on tanks. Seriously, get that along with Void. Ooh, my goodness. Another one I really like is actually Horizon Focus. This is actually pretty good. They reduce the range and increase the ability. This is solid, especially if you're ahead. It increases the skills damage against the person as well. So if you're away, they walk into a box, bam, this procs, they take 10% more damage from that ability, which is your box, which is attacking them solo usually. If you place it like in a choke point or in the forest, the jungle, they're gonna take a lot of damage. It's crazy. And yeah, those are pretty much the items, guys, that you want to rock every single game. One of those three, and any of these. So this is how my buy order goes. I usually go spell these 2 pots. On my first back, I try to get a Sapphire Crystal, or I may go double Fairy Charm. The whole point here is to get more mana so I can stay in lane longer. That way I can poke longer. Just try to stay active in lane. With a low mana pool, you get pushed out quicker, and it means you're away from XP, you're away from the plays, you're away from potential kills. Try to be efficient. Right? Think of the game, think of what you need, and go from there. Alright, so let's move into the gameplay now. Alright, so let's hop into this. So I've been thinking about how I want to structure this particular section. So I'm just going to go through the 5 kind of goals that you should keep in mind while playing Shaco Support. Starting with number 1, which is do not die. So it's pretty straightforward, and there's a difference between like inting and not inting. So if you're going in a 2v2 that you guys think you can win, that's obviously not going against rule number 1, because you know there's a good chance, or it looks like there's a good chance that you can win that fight. However, if there are 4 players pushing your mid tower and you think you're gonna queue in there and do something, that is breaking rule number 1. Okay, so it's okay to die if you're trying to complete something. If you have a task or a goal in mind, just dying to die is not good. Like if you're running around the jungle when the dragon's up in 25 seconds and you die because I don't know what you're doing in there, you know, that's breaking rule number 1. So we want to stay alive, but we also don't want to be, you know, running away from fights and stuff just so we don't break rule number 1 or goal number 1. Goal number 2 is keep your ADC alive. That's pretty much what you're there for. That's what your boxes are for. I mean, but there's only so much you can do. You can take some skill shots for them. You can take some harass from them. You need to place your boxes where, you know, junglers or the enemy support or just other enemy team in general could gank from. Those are that's one of your goals that you try to complete. But then again, having a shitty ADC who doesn't listen to pings, who's always overextended, who's just doing dumb shit or too scared to fight for, like in this example I'm gonna bring up, I'm trying to clear this particular ward, and while the enemy Jinx is obviously shooting at me, taking me down to like 50% HP, my Misfortune is not doing a damn thing. And here we are again. And this one I do kind of overextend a little to get some poke. However, again, Misfortune decides to not throw down any type of PO, not step up and provide a presence. You can walk up and provide a presence. People will think that you're gonna do something. Okay, just running away gives them a clear-cut target on your back, like, oh, they don't have anything, or they're not gonna do anything. And that's what Misfortune did, leaving me to die. And in that case, I get pissed. You know, if I can tell that my ADC is going to be pure dog shit and I'm wasting my time sitting here babysitting them, I'll go off and leave game. And this game was looking pretty bleak until I decided to roam. And in these clips right here, I'm going to show you what happened. And they all happened within, I think, 10-15 minutes of me leaving my support, who, if you look at the minimap, will always be bottom majority of the time while I'm picking up 5 kills, 4 or 5 kills, assisting with my team, helping my mid and top get ahead, even my jungler as well. And that is a thing you got to keep in mind as well, is just because your support doesn't mean you cannot roam, and just because your ADC is dog shit mean you don't have to sit there and babysit there and get your asses beat along with them. Maybe you can do something with mid lane, maybe you can do something with top if you think they're good enough or they're ahead. If your whole team's getting stomped, that's just unfortunate. Alright, that's league. You're gonna get inters, you're gonna get 4 other shitty players that can't do anything right. That's league. It happens to everyone. Just, you know, try to move on best you can. Object number 3 is vision. You are support, you have the best warding item in the game, well, at least compared to everyone else on the team who only has about 1. Your job is to clear wards and set wards to provide your team vision. And I got some cutouts here from some other sources, so let's say, that can show you some of the best spots to put wards, to give you information, just to place wards willy-nilly because you want to place wards. Try to place them in strategic spots that you know will give you value. Also, don't forget that you can place wards in the middle of the map, and that way you guys can plan accordingly. Your job is to look at the minimap as well, ping out things, ping out objectives, which brings us to goal number 4, is to be at objectives. You need to ping Dragon and Rift 55 seconds, or whichever one you guys are going to go after, around 55 seconds. And then you need to rotate over there, ping it, click the assist me here on your jungler if they're on the opposite side, especially if you know you guys are ahead and can take that. If you guys are losing hard, you may have to just give it. But if you guys are ahead and winning, you need to be taking these objectives. The best thing you could do is be there around 55 seconds. That gives you enough time to place 2 boxes and possibly have the 3rd already up or about to come up for when the fight begins, because there is a huge difference between being there having 2 boxes set with 1 almost ready to go compared to going to the fight that's already being fought with no boxes at all. There is a huge difference. And lastly is to get kills. That's how you guys get ahead, that's how you snowball, try to make calculated plays. I mean, I can't really give you a from A to Z on how to get kills. It's just how things play out. If your jungler's gonna gank, if your ADC is good, if you're making good choices, if the enemy team is bad, you know, there's tons of factors that come into play with you. That this is just where it comes from, experience and playing the champion and playing the game and realizing how good you are at this game. So, but that is an objective you want to keep in mind. If there are some lanes that you're just not going to get kills if you don't get ganks, oh well, just maybe try to roam somewhere else, or you know, just tell your ADC to play safe. Make sure you ping things on your ADC to back, especially if you see or know a jungler's rotating bottom. Say, play with caution. It's not always going to work, but at least you can say at the end of the day that you warned his dumbass and he chose not to listen to you, and that's why he's bad and not you. Alright, so now I want to go through the beginning stages, about the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game, maybe about less than 5 minutes of the game, because it's always going to be the same. And so let's get into this real quick. So what you're always pretty much going to do is you're going to come into the game. You want to quickly buy whatever starting support item you want, your 2 pots and your choice of trinket, and you're going to run into the jungle. You need to get vision on one of the entrances. Like as soon as you run out there, place one in the bush by the river. You can do it this way, or you can just walk straight up. You can place a ward if you want. It doesn't matter. Just establish some vision, and do not AFK. Don't alt tab. Don't be looking at the shop, because in this example, that's exactly what I did. I pressed tab, and guess what? They come around the corner. They're trying to get me. They're trying to burn my ass. But you know what? I said, nah, I'm out of here. Like, fuck all this. But you know what? They decided to blow some skills, blow some summoners. So I'm running for damn near life over here. And then you know what? He became a bro. Took a shot for me, and we ended up getting a kill. Actually, 2 kills, right? So that could have been a disaster, but it worked out. Always pay attention. Alright, so now here's your choice. You can give them 1 box, which is fine, around the 52-second mark, or you can give them 2 boxes and then run to lane. Now if you give them 1 box, you have enough time to get there and get the good classic Shaco cheese. If you've been watching me and following me, you see it all the time. I usually put them in the videos if it happens. So you set 1 box at the top, 1 box at the bottom, and when whatever direction they run in, you run out, place a third. Hopefully you can pick up a kill. Don't believe me, here are plenty of examples. I got a couple here and like tons in old videos. Happens all the time. At the least, you want to burn 1 to 2 summoner spells from either one of them. If you get all 4 plus a kill, that's fucking awesome. If you get 2, it's still pretty good. And then from there, you're pretty much trying to keep track of who's going to get level 2 first. Alright, so if you did not know, to get level 2, you need to clear the full first wave, that's all 6 minions, and the front 3 melee minions. Alright, so you can kind of tell who's going to get level 2 first if you still have 2 caster minions on their side and the new wave is coming and they're, you know, about to clear theirs. They're going to probably get level 2 first. Don't be afraid to auto the melee minions, so you can get level 2 first. You only have your box level 1, so I would rather you try to push the wave a little bit early to get level 2. That way you can run away, because if it's someone like let's see, Thresh or Leona, you know for a fact they're going to try and all in you level 2, and you probably won't be able to get away because more than likely you probably did not go flash, you probably went exhaust or something else. So let me just jump in here with summoners that you can go at Shaco Support. You can go flash, teleport, barrier, exhaust, plus and always carry ignite. Teleport's good to get back in the lane, to have a map presence. Barrier is good so you can bait some skills a little bit and survive a little bit more burst. It's not a very common one, but it is something you could take. Exhaust is a very common one you can take so you can win level 2s. I would probably suggest that a lot if you have a lot of divers. The enemy team has people that they can really get into melee range and have some burst. If they have a lot of range like mage champions, it might not be as effective, but it's still good. And then lastly, flash. Flash has value. People talk shit when, you know, oh, you have a Q that's a flash. Yeah, but maybe I want another flash to close the distance. So here's an example of how flash helps me out. The first one, that's a little questionable, but the second one right here, I wouldn't have gotten that with flash. There are plenty of plays I would not have gotten with flash. So it has its potential. It can get you out of sticky situations, especially level 2 or level 1. If you don't get level 2 first and they all in level 2, you can use flash to escape when you only have your box. So in this section, right before we get to the last section, is primarily tips and tricks using your Q and your R, where you can Q from, how to self gank your lane, and like little escapes you can use with your R and stuff like that. Okay, I'll show you this first, that way when we get to the examples in the next section you can see them in action, at least most of them. So right here I'm just running through all the spots where you can self gank with Q. Right here, you want to click right above the rock in between the trees. You can actually even go back the other way as well. This might take a little practice. But here it is again. And make sure you don't go too far in because you may get spotted by the tower. This is a classic one. And if you needed to run away, you can always clear this rock. And like with most, they work on the other side of the map as well, in pretty much all the same spots. So here's the same rock, you can queue over both sides. For mid, if you hit it right at the top, you can queue in a lot further. Now we're going to hop into some of the R's, and just keep in mind you can go both directions. So if I'm going over at once, you can go in both directions, and you can also send your clone over as well. So here are a lot of the spots where you can R over that can provide you some good escapes or some like little mind tricks and stuff like that. We get a couple in mid as well. And with ours, just like the Qs, it applies on both sides. Here's the dragon pit. You're going to want to practice these pits. They are difficult. Especially this Baron one. It took me like 10 tries to finally figure it out. I had to pull out the cursor for it. So memorize the spot where I'm going in and out at and practice it yourself in the training tool. And you should be solid here. Looking like a pro. And one more for good measure. And the last trick I want to teach you is how to juke with the Q. Now this will take some practicing, and the benefits of this is it kind of throws the enemy off. They think you'll go one way, but you're actually queuing the other way. So where you're trying to go, you want to step in the opposite direction and then quickly fling your mouse to the direction that you want to go. We're going in one direction, we step and we fling back the other direction. Alright, so we're coming up on the last section, so I want to do this a little bit differently. As I look at the clock, I see we are getting pretty long. I want to keep this about an hour. I don't want to get too far, so I'll spend the next 10-15 minutes or so pretty much pulling plays out and dissecting them, kind of like what I do with Versus the Meta, and explain certain things, and hopefully you guys can learn a lot from that. Okay, so let's hop into this and close this bad boy out. Alright, so let's get into this. First example on the chopping block. Let's make this a little bigger. Let's watch this play and we'll point out some things here. So Nunu's coming in for a gank, and these thresh kind of scenarios you may be tempted to go for the ADC, but as you can see he flashed away to throw his lantern thinking that we're all gonna go after Ashe or the ADC in general, and that could be a gank wasted. So it's better to try and target down the thresh because look at the Ashe, she's going back for the lantern. Now that thresh is dead, but I mean, it's not going to do much. And now she's caught deeper than she would have been if she would have just kept running. And you know, you're probably going to get a TP from somewhere. So the thing here with echoes that you got to remember too is that you may try to Q away. If you see echo, you got to Q away before he's in range or he does his E roll, because if you blink and he is in range and can still land that E, or I believe it's his E, he'll travel this distance and he'll throw his Q, slowing you, making it easy for him to pick up a kill on you. Happened plenty of times. So in this case I Q'd away early, so now he has no way of hitting me, and that's why he targets Nunu. Place a box that fears him away, and now here's where we get to the Graves. For Graves, you can stand in front of him to block shots. Same thing with tower. If you run around tower, he can't necessarily kill you. So that's what I try to do there. As you can see, I take the shot for him. Now he's aggroed. Unfortunately, Echo's still there. Picks up that kill, but I'm not done. I see I have some short cooldowns. I know I can get this kill, and that's exactly what I do here. And this is about box placement. So like I said, you gotta predict or understand the champions that you're dealing with. So Bard can obviously go through these things, right, in any direction he wants. He can come down there and do all that crazy shit. So I have a box here which zones him off if he's coming this way or if he wants to run into the bush. So he has to come along this line right here, up through the minions. And you know minions block you and shit like that. It's a pain in the ass. And then we got ones along the wall here. You could place one there, and like I have one there. That way if the enemy tries to go around this way, they encounter the boxes that are there. Now you can have your boxes a little tighter in, like this one, instead of being over here, because essentially they're trying to do the same thing. They're trying to ward against a gank from the jungler, because he will come in like this, and they'll usually run with us. Okay, so if we're up here in this section and we see the jungler coming, we're gonna run this way, right? And the jungler's not gonna go straight to the box. It makes no sense. He's gonna run with us, which means he'll come in as high as possible and try to cut us off, you know, take the short distance to get us right here. This is more to disengage. This one's more to disengage them from coming in, buying us some time, because well, in this case I'm out of mana, but It's to buy us time. If you wanted to protect against the jungler, you need to place him higher up along the wall, because you gotta also account for your ring. And there are times where the ring may not be big enough. It'll be like this, and the enemy jungler can skirt by and not get feared. This happens on both sides. It's happened here and it's happened up there. So make sure that this ring is up against this wall so they can't just slide on by like a bunch of slithering snakes. So let's let this one play out and see what we can get from this one. And like I said, this is Bard. Just being an idiot. And the box worked out the way it worked out. In this case with Fizz, when he does this, when he goes up into his untargetable skill, you can use R and dodge his crash down, not taking damage. In this case, I did not do it. I did not time it well, so he ends up damaging me. And this is a risk and reward kind of thing. If he does not have his R and you do this and you time it and he misses, he loses a large chunk of his damage. Pretty sure it's the skill they max first, so they can use this as much as possible. If he does have R, then you risk getting caught in his R like I did here. Thankfully I live because Galio's there to protect me. As we always like to see, we like to see some flashes getting wasted. In this case, it's just classic box placement. So this is how you deal with Master Yi and lower elo. Some of you may not know how to deal with him. It's pretty straightforward how to deal with him, but it can be difficult at times. But this is the general premise of it. So he kills your champion, he's running at you. Make sure you have a box placed down somewhere, or before he alphas in like this, you already have a box placed. Now I try to keep him away from the box, but he alphas in. That's kind of what you want to do. You want him to alpha into you, and then you run or queue over to your box, and then you try and place another box. But in this case I did not have it, so I queued under tower. He's going to come back in IR, which stops him from alpha or just getting another auto attack, leading to him dying here. In this one, you can self gank over these walls. Don't forget, you can self gank over the walls, coming like that. Over here, like I said, if you click right here with your Q, you'll jump from back here all the way to right here. So you get in a lot further, but you can gank from these walls here. So it's going super deep in this one. Kind of predicted the flash here. Well, I used the flash to get out of it, but my initial goal was to get my clone to go under tower. So since there are no minions, the clone will be targeted, and it usually takes about 2 or 3 shots for him to explode. And the whole point of this was to have the clone explode in front of him and push him back out, but that did not work because he then flashed. But we're still pretty close, so I'm sticking with it, letting the clone go in, taking it. I'm like, oh no, he still has too much health, so come back. I'm willing to take this because I just, for some reason, have aftershock. He gets queued. I mean, that's not enough, and then Vel'Koz takes the kill. This one was the most recent one, and guys, I had to put this one in here because it not only did it make me tear up with laughter because I broke this Gragas's mental, but it has tons of examples of ways to get out of stuff. So if you look at my inventory, I have no boots. Nothing, not even level 1 boots, okay? I have a box placed here, which catches the Gragas as he's trying to cut us off, or cut me off. So I have no boots. I'm pretty sure he's got tier 2 boots. Yeah, he does, plated. So he's got tier 2 boots. I don't have any, and watch what transpires here. Get vision to see where he comes in. Here's what we talked about, your R dodging skills. Boom, dodge that slow, that would have definitely killed me. Then I place a box knowing that his fat ass, when he E's, he collides with whatever's in front of him that's an object. So I place my box down so he stops short. I roll outwards because he's going to throw the Q, and then the box comes off its fear, and then it fears them, giving me some more time. I sent my clone away so he'll come back, hopefully to slow him with an auto. Yumi busts out her R, so I Q diagonally to not stay in the line. She breaks off to try and, get me there too. But in doing so, she falls further behind. As you can see, my clone is down here, and here's the classic clone bomb coming through clutch. Look at this. He's coming in. They got the Q. They got the fat man. But skirt. Clones are to take both of them. And since the clone feared him, he wasn't able to pop his barrel to slow me. Your boy gets out, and just look at this. Look at this. What is he doing? He's done. He's had enough of this game. So here we are back. This is the standard cheese setup that we talked about, you place this box. So let me talk about this real quick, just a little bit more detail. So if you decide to give your jungler one box at the 52-second mark, you can come do this type of thing. If your bot laner wants you to set up a cheese in the tri-brush, or if you're on this side that I'm on, or if you're on the opposite side, they want that tri-brush, don't do it. Do it in lane. The reason why you want to do it in lane is because they can come from this way, bypassing this, or they can come straight from lane, bypassing this. So there's a 50% chance, maybe there's a 1/3% chance. This is always pretty much guaranteed. I'd say 95% guaranteed if they don't double sweep you, or at least if no one on the bot team has sweeper. I mean, they could use it up here as well, so take your chance here. It's a little bit easier. You're guaranteed for your boxes to hit. You do pretty much the same thing, but it'll allow you to possibly get a kill. So this box comes down about 115. This box goes right as it comes up, and then you wait for them to get somewhere in this vicinity. If they're coming across like this, you want to get them, place the box right here, so you get a ring like this, and they have to choose to go up, or they run into it, or they come down this way. Either way, you know, they're gonna get hit with something. Or if they come lower, like the supports tend to do, to put a ward in this bush, you can place the box right here, creating something like this, and then they'll walk into this, and then they'll walk into that, and they'll have to flash away. The whole point, at the very minimum, is you want to try to get summoner spells. So as you can see, they both walk top. I walk up, place that box a little. This is what I was talking about earlier. You want to make sure you can kind of get it along the line so that Janna can easily just go this way and get out of it. So I wanted the box to be right here, bringing the ring to cover that area. But they're in a bad spot right now. My ADC is smart. He knows that they are fucked, and he should come up and we should do something. So let's see here. Janna triggers the first box. She's taking a lot of damage. I exhausted Jhin, so he doesn't do that much damage in this 2v2 fight. He triggers the other box, and Janna does not trigger this box, thankfully, which leaves it just for Jhin to get popped off. Boom, we walk away. So in this scenario, I want to show you about ADCs being stupid, just so you're aware of it. I mean, it's pretty obvious. So they have a blitz, you know he's going to try and get a hook. So what do you want to do? You want to stand behind minions. What does Ezreal not do? Stand behind minions. Now I know for a fact that Q could have hit him from behind minions. And looking at this claw right here, I would say he got away, but Riot doesn't think so. Pull him in, dead. You know what? Maybe the second time he'll do better. There's nothing you can do about ADCs who cannot dodge skill shots. Gets grabbed. Good night. Alright, so in this scenario, I just want to show you that your boxes can counter Rakan knockup and stop him dead in his tracks. So let's watch this. So he comes in with his R, and then there he goes with his Q, but he gets feared, but no knockup. You see that? Keep that in mind when you're playing Rakan players. You can stop the knockup. Here's a prime example of a clone dive, or dive in with your clone. So I Q over this wall. I R while still stealth and send the clone running towards the tower. And then I hit Twitch with a dagger to slow him, letting the clone get right up on that ass before it explodes. Boom. Try to do it here as well against these two bastards. Was not looking too good, especially with the minions until they were gone. And we found an opening here. Could have been a double for me, but there you go again, queuing over that wall. Make sure there's no your minions are not there. That way your clone will take the damage. So here's the hierarchy when it comes to your clone. If there are no minions, if there's nothing under the tower, he will be targeted. If you and the minion are there, you will be targeted. If there's one minion and then you send your clone in and that minion dies and there's still other minions, your clone will not be targeted. Even if your clone is under tower attacking someone, he will not be targeted until he is the last thing under there. So he needs to be in there first before anyone else or any minions get there to be targeted. And if a champion on your team gets within tower range or attacks the champion, aggro will switch over to them. This is a topic I want to talk about as well, and these are the blast cones. Blast cones are awesome. They make the game a little bit fun when it comes to your boxes and stuff like this. I want to talk about it for your boxes. You can place your box down around blast cones, and wherever they are and you hit this, they will then fly to those locations, which is a good way to kind of fear people, right? I do this a lot by the dragon pit over here. If you see, there's a blast cone right there. I place it on the edge, blast it over, it'll land in the pit. And there have been a couple times where I would fear people. I wish I had an example for it, but I could not find the one that I wanted. But you can get the idea from this clone. So let's watch this and you can see it's the exact same thing. Pretend that I put a box right here, and then I hit the cone. So let's watch this. Boom, explode on that ass. Hilarious. So here's an example with the clone that you want to keep in mind too when it comes to team fights. If the enemy team has a lot of AoE champions, you want to kind of send your clone running into them. Because, like for example, Mordekaiser, all of his abilities do AoE damage except for his ult. Right? So any damage he throws out, my clone will take it at a increased rate, which will explode. And you usually want to throw these into high traffic areas. That way multiple people get feared and stuff like that. So I set my clone running out there, and as you can see, there's 3 people there. And what do they do? They hit it, they get feared, and we win this fight because of it. So in this clip, we can see the gank from over the wall. I talked about this in the tips and tricks section. You want to queue like right there. It'll appear right here. For this to work at its maximum success rate, you gotta have a box here, because if you show up right here, they're gonna run either that way or that way. And if they are pushing up like this, they're gonna obviously run this way. But you have a box sitting there, you have a box right here primed, ready to go. So what do? You drop it right here, creating your double fear ring, and they'll go dead. So let's watch these and you can see exactly what happens. You can also queue over and do the same R trick that we did on the other side. You queue over R, send your clone under tower, and let it explode on them, because there's no minions around. So let's see what I choose to do in this one. So I place the box there, bam, smack them, boom, they get double feared there and knocked down. I think we got another one here. We try it again. This one I did not have the box set up. Like in the first one, I did not have the box here. So what does Jin do? He sits down here. So that's why you want to have a box kind of right here. So you set the box right here, then you run here and you wait for them to push up, and then you queue over, set this box, kill him. But he still kind of ran out here. We still are able to pick something up here, I believe. He flashes. Everyone's flashing. And we'll give it one more time again, as you can see, right over the wall. No box set up, but we're kind of ahead. I'm level 6, so I think this is the R. Yes, it is. Place the box, send the R. Jin runs out, giving my box time to go get aggro. 1, 2, bring him back. Feared outside, kill. Now in this example, this is about using your clone, playing mind games, having boxes set up. This is a lot right here too. So I have 2 boxes set up, even with the pink there. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna see if I could just bait something out of Darius. Preferably, I was trying to get his R while I'm attacking this pink ward. So he thinks it's me. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to get this ward. Yeah, it's definitely not the clone. And I end up getting his R. Now he's pissed. Now he's chasing me into a box. Double fear, gone. Here's another good ganking spot you can do, is you can wait on the side of this wall, queue over, like whoop, run over here. You could place a box, then throw an E. This is a good poke tactic that I like to do. So I like to place a box in the minions and throw E. So if they want to retaliate, they'll have to step up and get feared. Or you can just queue and throw an E and run away, whichever is up to you. So let's show you this right now. So we're about to queue over. Once I saw Swain throw that skill out, I knew it's time to go in. Place the box, backstab the Nami. She's exposed. She went way too far up, and I flashed to get that kill. Alright, so and that's it, guys. That's pretty much all the knowledge I have at my disposal. I hope you've learned a lot here. I hope all these examples I showed you can, give you insight, and now you can incorporate these into your gameplay to become a badass. This all comes with practice. You will get better, so stay at it. I know this was a long one, but let me know down in the comments if you thought this one was much better and or more valuable than last season. I truly appreciate it, guys. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.
For my next trick,